Have you ever pondered the intriguing relationship between inflation and unemployment? Welcome to an exploration of a concept that has puzzled economists and shaped economic policies worldwide. This is a journey into the heart of the economic world, a dive into the relationship that exists between two key indicators that influence our everyday lives: inflation and unemployment. What if I told you there's a theory, a curve, that promises to reveal the mystery behind this relationship? This curve, known as the Phillips Curve, has been a subject of study and debate for decades. Named after the New Zealand economist A.W. Phillips, this curve presents a trade-off, an inverse relationship between the rate of unemployment and the rate of inflation in an economy. This seemingly simple curve has profound implications, and understanding it can give us insights into the complex dynamics of our economy. So, are you ready to delve deeper into this fascinating economic enigma? Stick around as we uncover the economic puzzle that has been shaping our world. The year was 1958 when economist A.W. Phillips penned his observations on inflation and unemployment into what we now know as the Phillips Curve. In the bustling post-war economy of the United Kingdom, Phillips started noticing an intriguing pattern. As he sifted through the economic data spanning 64 years, from 1861 to 1957, a clear inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment started to emerge. It seemed that when inflation was high, unemployment was low, and vice versa. This observation was counterintuitive to the prevailing economic wisdom of the time. Economists had long held that inflation and unemployment were two separate economic forces, each influenced by its own unique set of factors. But Phillips was suggesting something different, something radical. He proposed that these two economic variables were, in fact, linked. Phillips noticed that when the economy was booming, companies were willing to pay higher wages to attract scarce labor, which led to higher prices, thus, inflation. Conversely, in periods of economic downturn, unemployment rose as companies cut back on their operations, leading to lower wage pressure and hence lower inflation. This theory, presented in his seminal paper, The Relation Between Unemployment and the Rate of Change of Money Wage Rates in the United Kingdom, 1861-1957, challenged the existing economic paradigm. It suggested that policymakers could exploit this trade-off between inflation and unemployment to stabilize the economy. For example, if a country was suffering from high unemployment, the government could inject money into the economy to stimulate demand. This would lead to an increase in inflation, but would simultaneously reduce unemployment. Similarly, if inflation was spiraling out of control, the government could tighten the purse strings to cool down the economy. This would increase unemployment but would bring inflation under control. The publication of Phillips's paper set off a wave of excitement in the world of economics. Economists and policymakers alike saw in the Phillips curve a powerful new tool for managing the economy. It offered a simple, intuitive framework for understanding the complex interplay between inflation and unemployment. Thus, the Phillips curve was born, marking a significant turning point in the field of economics. At its core, the Phillips curve represents an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment. So, let's dive into the mechanics of this curve. Imagine a downward sloping line on a graph, where the x-axis represents unemployment and the y-axis represents inflation. As you move along this curve from left to right, unemployment decreases, but inflation increases. This is the trade-off the Phillips curve illustrates. But here's where it gets interesting. The position of the curve isn't set in stone. It can shift due to factors such as changes in people's expectations of inflation, or supply shocks like sudden changes in the price of oil. A rightward shift indicates that for any given level of unemployment, inflation is higher, and vice versa. Let's bring in another layer of complexity here: the concepts of the short-run and long-run Phillips curves. The short-run curve reflects the trade-off between inflation and unemployment in an economy in the near term. This relationship can be manipulated by policy decisions like central banks adjusting interest rates. However, the long-run Phillips curve is a vertical line at the natural rate of unemployment, meaning that, in the long run, there's no trade-off between inflation and unemployment. Sounds counterintuitive, right? But here's the thing. In the long run, people and businesses adjust their expectations to changes in the economy. So, if a government tries to reduce unemployment below its natural rate by increasing inflation, people will eventually expect this higher inflation, and we're back to the natural rate of unemployment. So, the Phillips curve isn't just a simple static model, it's a dynamic representation of economic behavior that changes over time and under different conditions. It's like a living, breathing entity that reacts to the economic environment it's in. The Phillips curve, therefore, serves as a crucial tool for economists to predict and analyze economic trends. And just like any tool, understanding how to use it and interpret its movements is key to unlocking its potential. The Phillips curve is not just a theoretical concept. It has practical applications that have shaped economic policies worldwide. This curve has been a key player in the field of economics, influencing the decisions and strategies of both economists and policymakers. Let's delve into how the Phillips curve operates in real-world scenarios. Take, for example, the United States in the 1960s. The government, led by the economic advice of John F. Kennedy, embraced the Phillips curve, advocating for policies that would decrease unemployment at the cost of slightly higher inflation. This resulted in a booming economy with low unemployment, demonstrating the practical application of this economic model. Similar instances can be seen across the globe. The Bank of Japan, for instance, has often used the Phillips curve to guide its monetary policy. By manipulating interest rates to control inflation, the bank has been able to strike a balance between maintaining low unemployment and keeping inflation in check. In recent years, the Phillips curve has also played a vital role in shaping fiscal policies. Governments worldwide have used this curve to determine when to increase spending or cut taxes to stimulate the economy and reduce unemployment. However, the Phillips curve is not a magic wand that can solve all economic problems. It's a delicate balancing act. Too much focus on reducing unemployment can lead to runaway inflation, as seen in the 70s in the United States. On the other hand, excessive emphasis on controlling inflation can result in high unemployment, as witnessed during the early 80s. These instances underline the importance of using the Phillips curve judiciously and in conjunction with other economic indicators. Indeed, the Phillips curve has been a guiding light for policymakers in navigating the complex world of economics. It is a tool that, when used wisely, can help strike a balance between two of the most critical aspects of an economy: inflation and unemployment. While the Phillips curve has been a game-changer in economics, it has not been without its fair share of controversies and criticisms. Indeed, the inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment, as suggested by the Phillips curve, has faced rigorous scrutiny over the years. The most significant blow to the curve's credibility came during the tumultuous economic period of the 1970s, a time infamously known as the era of stagflation. This was when the economies of many developed nations, including the United States, experienced high inflation and high unemployment simultaneously. A phenomenon that directly contradicted the predictions of the Phillips curve. Economists and policymakers were left scratching their heads, trying to reconcile this reality with the principles of the Phillips curve. This led to a rethink of the curve's assumptions and applicability, with some economists arguing that it was oversimplified and didn't account for other influential factors like expectations and supply shocks. Fast forward to today, and the debate around the relevance of the Phillips curve continues to thrive. Some argue that the curve has flattened, meaning that changes in unemployment have a smaller impact on inflation than they used to. This has been attributed to various factors, including the rise of globalization, changes in monetary policy, and the increasing role of technology in the economy. Others, however, maintain that the Phillips curve is alive and well, albeit less predictable. They contend that the relationship between inflation and unemployment still holds, but it's influenced by a multitude of complex factors that can make it appear less clear-cut. Despite these disagreements, it's important to note that the Phillips curve has not been entirely discarded. It remains a key framework for understanding the trade-off between inflation and unemployment, and continues to influence monetary policies around the globe. So, while it may not be perfect, the Phillips curve has certainly left an indelible mark on the field of economics. Despite the controversies, the Phillips curve continues to be a key concept in economics, shaping our understanding of inflation and unemployment. So there you have it, the Phillips curve, a simple yet powerful tool that has revolutionized our understanding of economics. We've unpacked the complex economic principles behind it, delved into its historical context, and demonstrated its real-world applications. We've seen how it graphically illustrates the inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment, a concept that was once a mystery to economists. This curve has been a game-changer, shaping monetary policies and providing valuable insights to policymakers and economists alike. It serves as a compass, guiding us through the turbulent seas of economic fluctuations. Despite the controversies and criticisms it has faced over the years, the Phillips curve remains an integral part of economic theory. But remember, economics is not a hard science. It's a constantly evolving field that requires us to adapt and refine our tools as we continue to learn and grow. Next time you hear about inflation or unemployment rates, remember the Phillips curve and the fascinating economic story it tells.